Hey folks, we're back again with another Canon Eggs segment of the All Good Things Star Trek podcast, vlog segment for Canon Eggs for Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. We're up to episode number 3, which is called Context is for Kings, and I've got some Canon Eggs for you. Maybe you missed them. Hopefully you got all of them. Here's the first one. Tellin is the name of the system that Michael Burnham and her prisoner companions are traveling to on the shuttle. At the very beginning of the episode, they mentioned that there are Andorians there mining, or there was an accident of some kind. Tellin is the system where the planets Elas and Troyes are in, from TOS's Alien of Troyes. We'll look at this.
Captain's log, stardate 4372.5. On a top secret diplomatic mission, the Enterprise has entered the Tellin star system. Maintaining communications blackout, we have taken aboard Petri, ambassador from Troyes, the outer planet, and are now approaching the inner planet, Elas.
And the next one that we came across is Susman. That is the Vulcan form of martial arts that was mentioned in the Enterprise episode called The Marauders.
I cannot teach you to defend yourselves against these weapons. The Vulcan martial art of Susman takes years to master.
Next, you have probably the biggest Canon egg on the entire show. On Captain Lorca's desk is a trouble. You hear it when Burnham first walks into his ready room, and there you see it, big and fat and sassy, sitting on Lorca's desk. Why is it not breeding? Why is it big? Who knows? We'll find out hopefully at some point. Why does he have a trouble? Apparently, we would have thought that we would have never heard of them before until Cyrano Jones brings them to the Enterprise. We'll find that, I'm sure, as the series goes along. The Z Magnes Prize, the engineer, or let's see, Lieutenant Stamets, mentions that he and his friend on the Glen hopefully will win the Z Magnes Prize in the Ultimate Computer from TOS. Dr. Richard Daystrom was a winner of the Z Magnes Prize, which is a similar kind of thing to the Nobel Prize in the future.
Biographical tape of Richard Daystrom. Did you find out anything? Not much, aside from the fact he's a genius.
Genius is an understatement. At the age of 24, he made the duotronic breakthrough that won him the Nobel and Z Magni prizes.
In his early 20s, Jam. That's over a quarter of a century ago.
Speaking of course, the USS Glenn, named, I'm sure, after John Glenn, senator, astronaut in the future. Sort of a little Easter egg there as well. Probably not really a Canon egg, but Kowski, our poor security guy that got eaten by the creature on the Glen. I guess technically he's our first red shirt death of Discovery. He doesn't really wear a red shirt, but he's a security guy. He went on an away mission. He died. He's a red shirt. R.I.P. Big thing, Alice in Wonderland. Obviously, a big part of the end of the episode where Michael Burnham was reciting part of Alice in Wonderland to herself as she was crawling through the Jeffrey's tube, trying to get away from the creature. And of course, we hear at the very end of the episode, she mentions that her foster mother from Vulcan used to read Lewis Carroll to her when she was a little girl, also to the foster mother's son. Of course, they're talking about Amanda Sarek's wife, who we saw in Journey to Babel, and of course, a couple of the Star Trek movies. And of course, the son is Spock. We're all sure of that. Interestingly enough, in one of the animated series episodes, which is called Once Upon a Planet, actually Spock mentions that his mother...
The Queen of Hearts and her cards are characters from Alice Through the Looking Glass, Captain.
I read the book as a child, Mr. Spock, but I wasn't aware you indulged in the literature of fantasy.
Light reading is considered relaxing, Captain. My mother was particularly fond of Lewis Carroll's work.
I see.
Coming back, we have the mention of the Geneva, the Geneva Protocols of 1928 and 2155. Not a whole lot about that. I don't think it's ever been mentioned before, but it's interesting to note that 2155 is the year the final half of the last season of Enterprise takes place. Demons and through the Mirror Darkly, and those kind of episodes take place right around the first of 2155. Of course, there's a 6-year gap between that and these are the voyages, but that does take place all around the same time. And of course, if you blink, if you miss it, at the very end of the episode, Captain Lorca is in his menagerie, his collection room, some kind of thing, and you see in the background behind his shoulder there's a skeleton of, yes, a Gorn. Way before we meet the Gorn in Arena, supposedly the Federation had never heard of the Gorn before. Apparently, Commander Lorca, Captain, I keep calling him Commander, Captain Lorca has a Gorn skeleton. Also on his desk, or on the desk there in the room, you see a kind of a lizard-looking creature. It's a Cardassian vole from Deep Space Nine. So those are the ones that I found. Maybe you found some others. Let's see, anything else in my... one thing that was interesting, there was a conversation between Stamets and his counterpart on the Glen, that their organic spore drive, I guess, I'm not sure how else you would call it, were Spirians was looks like a unit of measure of some kind. They were making some sort of, they were 90 Spirians, or let's see, I had it written down here. Let me look real quick. 12 Spirians, 240, and then 900 is what the Glen took. Its ill-fated leap, and unfortunately turned everyone inside out. Spirian is actually Greek for, let me look and make sure, I want to make sure I got this right. It's Greek, from the Greek for to sow, T-S-O-W, and it also means sporing. So that has some derivation in that term from the Greek. So, all right, that's it for this week's episode. I forgot the title already. It didn't take me long. Context is for Kings. We'll be back next week for episode 4. Until then, don't forget agtpod@gmail.com. Twitter is agtpod as well. Listen to the All Good Things Star Trek podcast. See you next week.